My dearest Eric, your letter finds me restless, my love. We kindred know little of peace, and tonight I seem to do nothing but dwell on storms, conflicts great and small, past, current, and future. Our world changes as much as we remain the same, and you have always been my one and only constant. This mad century will not keep us apart forever, for we are older than the chaos that swirls around us. Quite often I think of the time spent alone with you in the darkness of our rooms, the feeling of life and love coursing through my body as I feel your skin touch mine. I let my heart beat and feel the answering rhythm as you allow your blood to flow as well. These moments hold such exquisite beauty and such exquisite torture for me, Eric. They are the only way that I find peace. What bonds exist between us are almost certainly the heart and soul of what it means to be divine. I do write to you about other things beyond the remembrance of our love, and I had best get to them lest this letter be filled with such memories. My skin is already flushed, and if I allow my heart to beat now, I may never finish this letter. So instead, I would ask you about a different memory. Do you remember the Gothic quarter in Barcelona? I was walking through its streets the other evening and came across something I haven't seen in a long time. Amidst a mural of Bolshevik graffiti, the symbol of the Sword of Cain, right there on the wall. Now, we all know Spain has its hotbeds of fervor, but Barcelona? I thought the city cleansed long ago. As the Sabbat tried to establish themselves here, they found the earth of Europe nothing but hard stone, difficult to find purchase. But in the modern nights, we find more and more the Sabbat are able to establish themselves in our old world. I know that you would object, having spent so much time amongst the Camarilla, but the Sabbat are having success for different reasons now. The Camarilla domain's power solidifies around the prince. His strengths are the domain's strengths, his weaknesses the domain's weaknesses. But the Sabbat domain, it's not a domain with a master, it's a diocese, and it's organized around faith. The leader of the Sabbat may be more or less useful, but they never define the nature of a Sabbat diocese. The faith does, as well as its practitioners. The death of an archbishop does not throw the faith into chaos, for the archbishop is not at the center of Sabbat life. In your Camarilla cities, when a prince dies, her city falls into chaos until another can rise. In these modern nights, the Sabbat's zeal allows them to endure the chaos of change, for no one Cainite is central to their mission. I'd like to tell you about the clergy of the Sword of Cain here, and get your thoughts on how to maximize our interests in an eventual outcome in Barcelona. The local structure of the Sabbat differs from the Camarilla in many other ways. While the heart of a Camarilla domain is found either in the prince or a powerful primogen council, the heart of a Sabbat diocese is to be found in the Pack. The Sabbat Pack is the fundamental organizing principle of the sect, and it allows for a diffusion of power across a broad landscape. The Sabbat Pack may range in size from as few as 3 to as many as 10. Their names as unique as their composition, some named after articles of religious faith, some after heroes of the Sabbat or kindred legend, and some as quips or inside jokes. There are 2 kinds of Sabbat Packs. The nomadic pack, called horsemen, who range the countryside and travel from one territory to another, raiding and scouting against the enemies of the sword. The other is a founded pack, called a coven, which holds territory within a city, establishing a permanent Sabbat presence. You may think of a pack as comparable to the coteries of old, but they are much more than this, again falling back onto the religious zeal of the Sword of Cain. There are 3 positions of importance within a pack. The first position is the ductus, who serves as the war leader of the pack. The ductus is responsible for the combat training and function of the pack, as well as its safety and security. In most packs, the ductus is the leader of the group, but not always. That brings us to the second position, the priest. The priest is the spiritual heart of the pack, and is responsible for the powerful rite that binds the Sabbat packs together and keeps them free from blood bonds, among other mystical benefits from the Sabbat faith. The priest provides spiritual guidance for those kindred who walk the paths of enlightenments or philosophical codes which help them endure the degradations of immortality. Some packs consider the priest to be the true leader of the coven rather than the ductus. jury's out on that one. The third position is less glamorous than the previous two, but important nonetheless. You would really appreciate this one. The abbot attends to the logistic needs of the pack as much as they can, with their primary function being the maintenance and preservation of the pack's communal haven. So imagine your local Camarilla coterie, led by a very combat-capable, respected sheriff, working hand-in-hand with a shrewd and cunning harpy, and then backed by the influence of an efficient ventry. Now imagine your entire domain filled with these coteries. Now call them packs and set them ablaze with religious zeal. That's just the foundation of the Sword of Cain. The Sabbat does have its hierarchy, but the hierarchy of the Sword is far less totalitarian, I suppose, than its Camarilla opposite. While it serves an important function in guiding the war effort of the Sabbat, the hierarchy is often limited to its specific role, rather than the expansive power of a Camarilla lord whose reach is only limited by his ability to enforce the matter. The Sabbat of a city are led by an archbishop, in Barcelona a Cainite named Santiago Garcia, a La Sombra naturally, and a talented strategist. The Archbishop of a Sabbat Diocese is one part spiritual leader, one part warlord. He is charged with enforcing the laws of the Sabbat, both religious and militant, as well as administrating certain higher rituals and rite and governing the diocese to a degree. The Archbishop may appoint 2 Templars to serve as enforcers of his will for the duration of his reign over the diocese. These vampires most often find themselves involved in combat, and so often both resilient and very violent Cainites. The Archbishop often finds himself with many responsibilities, and so finds it necessary to place Cainites in command of aspects of Sabbat society so that they may receive the complete attention they deserve. To this route, he may create bishops dedicated to matters of importance to the Sabbat. A diocese may have between 3 and 5 bishops, with their responsibilities most often divided as Bishop of War, Bishop of Security, Bishop of Spirituality, a Bishop of Resources, and a Bishop of Information. But bishops may be styled and tasked in any way the Archbishop prefers. A Bishop of War may focus on training packs to work together in battle, plan battle actions, and even lead groups of packs into battle. A Bishop of Spirituality will oversee the Auctoritas Rite, or the High Rite of the Sabbat, and see to the spiritual welfare of the diocese. These types of specialization allow a full array of options to be presented to the Archbishop and make up most of the Sabbat hierarchy. All of this structure, from the Pack Ductus to the Archbishop, is built on one important religious institution of the Sabbat, Monomusi, trial by combat, perhaps the most important religious practice of the Sabbat after the Valdery itself. This is the social mobility of the Sabbat, the answer to the calcified rule of elders in the Camarilla, the answer to division, the answer to bottleneck. When a matter has gone beyond the civil disagreement of religious brothers and sisters and into the realm of deeper grievance, that is when the rite of Monomusi is often invoked. The actual practice of Monomusi varies widely. No formal code exists as to the choice of weapons, location, or even terms of victory. Most often, Monomusi duels are fought to final death in some ridiculously dangerous or highly inaccessible place, like an iron foundry or atop a skyscraper, moments before dawn. Whether or not the vampires may use weapons, disciplines, or other assets is typically the decision of the challenged. On the priest's invocation, the combat begins, and the last Cainite standing is declared the winner, usually followed by more rite and celebration. The closest thing you'll find in the Camarilla is the successful conclusion to a blood hunt. And how many do you know who can call themselves triumphant? Archbishop Garcia is known as undefeated, meaning he has not lost a Monomusi, and has participated in more than a few. I think you'd like him. Archbishop Garcia has found great success in working with the ducti of the packs of his diocese in fighting both the anarchs and the Camarilla, a far contrast to his predecessor. That archbishop found herself stymied in her strategies because though she was empowered to command the packs within the diocese, she lacked the trust of the ducti, who would often tactically direct their packs along their own notions of how missions should be done. These nights in Barcelona, the Kindred War against each other in confusing arrangements. The Sabbat, the Camarilla, the Anarchs, all are at each other's throats, with shifting emphasis for any and all. And the reason for this is to be found in the unique situation of the Sabbat here. So close to Madrid and the power bases of the La Sombra, the Sabbat have more punching power than may be usual in a stand-up fight against the Camarilla. Meanwhile, the Anarchs in their multitudes have found themselves in shifting alliances with either, or sometimes both, sects. It is strange to see these societies return strongly to Europe after so much time, my love. The dark hearts which beat with such strength are intoxicating to watch. And though I know your own beliefs stray far from this group, there is much in them that remind me of you. Your passion, your dedication, your capability for violence. I wonder, is this renewed Sabbat presence in Barcelona of use to us in our greater plans? This brutal faith is so often made up of such youth, but especially in Spain, there are things there. Old things that work to support it. I miss you, Eric, and I wish you were here so that we could speak of this directly. Until I hold you again, my love for you forever. Amelia, Barcelona, 1935.